Stugotz, I'm feeling terribly self-conscious because I can see our show right in front of our eyes becoming the show I hate.
Right.
Rah, rah, we've got the intangibles. We are the greatest. We are tough. We're better than your fan base. Rah, rah, rah.
And we called it.
We have a team that was an 8 seed that is a game away from making it to the NBA Finals.
Your we is doing a lot of work there.
You know what? I'm getting pissed off with Jeremy, okay? Because here's the deal. I had the Heat in 4. I told you the Heat series against the Knicks was over after the Knicks had a victory.
Yes.
They tied it up, knotted it up at one game
That's
apiece.
Right. That's right.
And I said this series is over. Heat in 5.
That's right.
And then the Heat in 4 in this series.
I love us being that show.
Yeah.
That show is what I love.
I love that show.
I told you so, says Stugotz, who has no allegiances and says everything, so some of it has to be right.
But we have 2 8 seeds who are on the verge of making it to the finals in their sports, and we should be rah-rah.
No.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime story.
No.
Rah.
Also, I would like to say if the Heat win the championship, this would be the greatest championship in NBA history.
Agreed.
So just want to throw that out there.
Yes.
And we'd all be on the float.
Yep.
Okay, this is problematic in a number of different ways because my father has been on the float, but journalistically, I had to sit it out. I'm trying to be a journalist as the clown show rolls on. I can't be on a parade float.
They didn't have tequila.
Sucks for you.
And I don't remember. I think Stugotz was invited and didn't go.
No, I went.
Did you?
Did.
One of the years because
I went both years because I'm a Heat lifer. I had season tickets,
Not
section
one,
116.
not two.
Yeah.
We're looking that up. We don't think you went both years.
And he sold all the tickets.
I did.
Incidentally,
You
as well.
missed the second one.
The second parade?
Yeah.
Huh. Where was I?
I don't know. I remember because I was like the last one to get the invite, and then I was stuck in parade traffic, and I had to run. Like I had to get off on the expressway thing, and then jump over a barricade, and security tried to stop me, and I was like, nah. And I just kept running towards the float because I'm like, I'm never gonna be able to do this again. And I remember like Andy Ellisberg was like walking around making sure all the floats were safe and everybody was in. I'm like, I gotta go to that one. I gotta go to that one. And I like hopped on at the last minute. I was on a parade float with La Voz.
That couldn't have been what Andy Ellisberg was doing. He couldn't have been in charge of like security for the
I think he was.
He's come
He was
a long way. I
Yeah,
mean,
he was like in charge of like the I don't want to say he was like the pep captain, but he was like making sure everyone was like in the right festive mood on the float. He was in a very happy mood, obviously.
Andy
He just won a
Ellisberg is the Heat
championship.
GM for those who do not know these things.
We all know that, Izzy.
This is
Please.
not the super local
Izzy,
hour.
thank you for doing that because Billy is always telling stories that have names in them. I mean, Andy Ellisberg.
People have the internet.com. They can look it
Yes,
up.
they should, right. They should follow the show by looking up the references that you're making.
I don't think you can skate either, though, because you're sitting here blaming your dad for the lack of journalistic integrity here. Did your dad put up those billboards in Akron and Cleveland?
It said so. It said they were signed Stugotz and my father.
Yeah,
But they were
really?
signed Stugotz and my father. They were.
You signed the check though.
Did Poppy ask to be on television, or did you?
Did Poppy coincidentally get hired at ESPN while
Right?
you worked there? Were they like, oh, you want to work here? That's your son works here. Like, you guys should do something
like
together.
a reverse nepotism, a weird sort of.
Just a coincidence.
I was trying. What I was trying
how's
to
that
do.
blouse doing?
I was trying tight, snug. I was trying to offset the nepotism of Chris Cody handing down or getting handed down journalism by Greg Cody, and this is how he does it: Clown Show Central, and
Whoa.
I mean, just celebrating in the press box.
All right.
While Jeremy is now somebody, for better or for worse, is representing our show as he does cheerleading. I think it's fair to say, correct, Jessica? Because Jeremy does not have your journalistic credentials, but Jeremy is going to be seen as more of a journalist than you because he does sideline reporting.
I love that you think that I'm like Wright Thompson. Yeah. By the way, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I am
The tone
way
with which
more.
he said sideline
I am-
reporting like it is the worst job in the history of journalism. Good Lord, Dan, take it easy.
You got to sideline reporter through journalistic means. You
true.
think Jeremy climbed in through a sewer, through a gutter?
Well said.
I did my time as an associate producer at a local news station
Paid
here
your
in
dues.
For like
Miami.
1 year. You're like 24. Shut up, Jer Bear.
He doesn't like
Younger than Bam.
He was back here during the break, like just like muttering things about I'm a journalist. No one respects me around here. My journalism brought us the information that Jimmy Butler was listening to Strokin after the game. If that's not real journalism, I don't know what is, Dan.
Jeremy Stroke-D's, get in the penalty box.
Wow, everyone is sending Jeremy to the penalty box. Get out of here, Jeremy. I need somebody to teach us here about what is real journalism, real objective journalism, as passed down from my blouse, my 3 extra large blouse, to Izzy in this market.
You need Mr. Nipple.
Can I ask a question to Izzy about sideline reporting?
Yes.
And I mean this in the most respectful way possible.
No, you.
By the way, I'm off sideline reporting this year, so go ahead.
Oh,
Fire away.
wow. It's
He's
just
doing
like
artistic projects in journalism right now that we're about to talk about because
drawing?
he's made a journalistic podcast that represents something more journalistic than anything this show has ever done.
Stupidity.
And every episode is a DJ Khaled cold open, so journalism.
So, like, when you're sideline reporting, right, you get 2 questions that you ask of every coach. It's always, what are the adjustments that you have to make? And then there's, like, one more question, right?
Yeah.
So, like, at what point do you come up with that one question that it's like, let's fly this person across the country to come on for 30 seconds where Pop just dismisses them?
It's a great question, Billy. Great question. So it depends on if it's the first or the third quarter, right? The first quarter very much go to, hey, look at one side of the ball, look at the other side of the ball, right? Unless there's something obvious that happened in the first quarter, it's, hey, and I got these lessons from Pop. He told me, just give me something open-ended and kind of stupid, and I'll answer it better than a really, good question. And I'm like, hey, what'd you like about the offense? And he went off for like 30 seconds. I'm like, great. And so, kind of go offense, kind of go defense, maybe, and again, if there's something more specific that happened, you ask about it. And then the third quarter, just kind of depends on where the game is. Depends on where you think that coach is going to give you a few words. Probably not going to say anything, but just as long as it lasts a little bit longer and he doesn't give you a confused look.
How about you ask Pop what you want to ask Pop and don't let Pop dictate the terms? Like
Yeah,
a true
that's-
journalist.
that's not
you know?
journalism.
Yeah, how about
That's what I
that?
mean.
What would you ask him, Jeremy?
Shifty over here.
Well, Jeremy was sent to the penalty box,
Oh, darn.
and you can join him
No.
now. Yes.
Wow.
We will sell your
Man, I
pie.
hate that guy.
About to order
Feel,
something.
feel free to
You can sell your art when you come back.
watch and listen to the show that you're presently sitting in the middle of. I do want to
Got
talk
promotion to do.
I do want to talk about this project that Izzy is working on because
Ooh, like a group project?
no,
Not
it's,
here now, though.
well, not right now. Get me a real journalist, please. Somebody go outside.
don't
Go
think we have any of those around here.
Find someone.
Who's left?
An objective journalist.
I mean, in journalism, period. Who's left? Is it just Wright Thompson?
they just canceled Outside the Lines after 33 years. Yeah, it made me sad.
What?
Stephen A. He's a real journal. Oh wait, no,
found one.
Dan canceled him.
Thank you. Oh no, wait, not.
you
not
said you wanted a
her.
journalist.
No, not her.
She came in with finger guns. I love this journalist.
Literally wearing a Celtics shirt.
Come on, Charlotte Wilder.
C's.
Wait a minute, she's a real journalist of nebulous metal arc projects. Your background is real journalism, more than these guys.
Yeah. I'm a journalist, she said, sitting here in a Celtics shirt that says Larry Bird power forward on it. That's me. What do you want to know, Dan? I'm here for you.
I want to know this conflict that we have in the studio because Jeremy thinks he's a real journalist and he seems to be cheerleading on behalf of his team. And this is not how I've ever seen sports journalism done.
Really?
In Boston, this is how they do it.
Well, I don't know in Boston. I was never a true sports journalist in Boston, but I did cover a Red Sox-Yankees game where I was fist pumping under the table. So I don't know. I don't know
You're
that.
gonna fit it in great around here.
But first, Pearl Jam.
You should not be here today taking a Celtics flogging. It's a bad day for her to be here. It's a bad day.
You
her
asked
to-
for a journalist.
Yeah, but it's okay. But she's more journalist than most of the people around here. But I mean, your team embarrassed you last night. Yes? Like you were horrified by what you watched. You cared about that. You thought there was some hope, and instead now all of Boston is crying today because what is this disaster?
This is a nightmare. I was at the game and I was like, you know what? Great. If I'm here and my Celtics come back, like what an amazing and then it occurred to me as the game was starting, I was like, oh, this could also be the worst day of my life. And it was not great. Although it got to a point where it was just so funny that I was just sitting there like cracking up. And there's a row of Boston fans behind me, and they were saying like Kyle Lowry's called for the foul, the foul was given to Kyle Lowry, and then they're like, oh, he was doing an Irish jig, like he was doing the electric slide, like, and then they go, if we're down 40 in the fourth, we're going to Hard Rock. And they went to Hard Rock in the third. So
Did you just bring in a quote-unquote objective journalist who said my Celtics?
Yeah.
And there's no penalty box time for
Interesting.
her?
With finger guns.
Right?
it's a bit, right?
What do you guys think the Celtics are doing today? Because after that game, you got to have a getaway day today. You got to have a nice day in Miami. Maybe a zoo.
Bimini. They're in Bimini.
Maybe a group trip to the zoo, like a zoo day.
I know exactly what they're doing right now. They're huddled around a fire watching The Town.
Oh, yeah. They got to be doing something today that's just, let's get our minds away from this. Let's maybe go get a nice breakfast.
A bonding day.
I'm telling you, they
Yeah.
are doing something today. Maybe a beach day at their hotel, like walk out to the beach, like carve out some space so no one can bother them.
I want to understand.
Little group volleyball.
We're not going to get to Izzy's project, it doesn't seem like, but we skipped right by. Izzy and Juju really wanted to talk about the fashion error Jason Tatum made yesterday. Like, we skipped right past that. He dressed in the Heat's colors, all white, very Miami, and a lot of people were making a big deal about the fashion choice.
I mean, on its own, it didn't look terrible, right? I mean, there are some comparisons that maybe he borrowed a note from Ellen DeGeneres, perhaps, but he just not knowing that the Heat's all white, the Heat's white hot is a thing, and then I was walking through the lunch line or through the dinner door, and somebody ran out and said, "Izzy, did you see Jason Tatum was wearing all white?" Ha! And stuff like that. It's just kind of crazy.
And that thing was tailored to be damned. Like, I don't know if it was Shaq suit, LeBron suit, but jeans was wide leg as hell. My bad. And he sold pigeon toes. Salute to the pigeon toe people around the world. But when you're that pigeon toe and you walking in with a blousy pant, sir, sit down and fire Joe Mazzulla right now.
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Salute to pigeon-toed people all around. Yes,
Maybe
or
they're going
no?
to the Rapids.
No, I think the
the Rapids
Celtics are
have
going on.
something?
I think they're trying to do a reverse Giants. Because remember when the Giants went on a boat? That was in Miami, right? And then they were cursed. I think the Celtics should go on a boat and try to uncurse themselves and see if that works.
I really don't like our show.
I love it.
I don't like our show. And video, you're making it worse. There was a graphic, I just read it, of the Celtics. They're talented, but they just don't got it.
Correct.
I mean, come
Well
on.
said.
Good job,
Journalism
video.
you want, Dad.
I'm a touch embarrassed by how hyper-local the show has already become because we're in the middle of celebrating a absurd underdog run in sports, and all of a sudden we've become the show everyone hates because, of course, we're rah-rah-rahing. And I'm like, we need to go more national. We need to bring in more. The show always has, like, it's broad. It has some scope. We can't just do one topic, one thing all day that's that local. And then Billy comes forward, steps into the breach, and says, "Dan, I'm watching the Marlins for everybody."
Me? Oh, yeah. No, I got this. I got this assignment for the rest of us because I know that none of you are paying attention to the Marlins. So I said, you know what? And I announced this.
Not none of us.
I don't know if I did this on it. That's true. Jess is a big Marlins fan. I don't know
They
if you
won
guys
on
know
Sunday. Two
Nice
runs.
little club, yeah.
This. They lost Sunday, but they won on Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, days are hard. Like some days they all seem the same to me. You know what I mean? Do you guys ever wake up and say, what day is it? Because that happened to me 3 times this weekend.
Yes.
2 days.
Yeah. Well, I took a nap.
What day was it?
Well, on Saturday was Saturday. You'll never
The
guess what
naps
day it was
where
on
you wake
Sunday.
up and you don't know where you are or what day it is are the best naps.
The weekend waking up where you have a brief thought of thinking it's a work day, that's a great moment. No, that's the best.
Such a wave of relief when you remember, oh, it's Saturday.
That's the best. I love coming
Sometimes
here. But
when that happens in a hotel room when you're out of town, though, a little scary. It's like, ooh.
Have you ever woken up because you travel a lot, Izzy, in a
Mm-hmm.
hotel out of town? You're like,
he has woken up.
where am I?
Especially at 5 in the morning with all the blinds closed and the alarms are going off. I'm like, where the hell am I?
Have
It's
I been
happened a few
kidnapped?
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had
Closed
that thought.
blinds in a hotel room are some of the low-key scariest things.
Dangerous game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it freaks me out.
But also, like, one of the best things that I could never have in my own home, right? Like, where could I get blinds that actually, because no matter what kind of blind or window, like, covering situation, light always gets in at home.
Always. I have blackout blinds.
So do I.
Really?
They're crazy.
I've woken up at 1 p.m. one time, just completely shocked at what time it was.
It's amazing. I haven't done that since college.
So the Marlins are doing
You
well.
go to
Dan.
sleep at 7.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, Billy. The Marlins.
We had a 13-game stretch. I said, you know what, guys? I looked at the calendar. I said, too much sports down here right now. The Panthers are going to be playing every other night that the Heat are playing for the next 14 days. If this series goes 7, Marlins had 13 games. And I said, you know what? I'm going to keep an eye on them for everybody. And I said to you, Dan, I don't know if I said this publicly or privately. I said, you know what? They got to go 9-4 on this road trip or 10-3 in these games. And right
You
now,
said they've got to eat, is what you said.
I said
They've
they got to
gotta-
feast. They got to eat. They got to get fat on the bad teams.
They have
is what
to.
I said.
What you
Yeah.
were doing before
Yeah.
before the nonsense of the playoffs began, what you were doing, he's saying, guys, everybody, I've got it. I'm going to watch the Marlins.
Sometimes leaders got to lead, Dan.
And you said that this is the road trip. If they come back from this and they have lost these games, no one will care about this team the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But because of the division they're in, because they have no chance. However, if they can be 15-2 in one-run games at the end of at the end of Panthers and Heat seasons, there will be room for the Marlins. And
Hopefully, but these teams keep winning. Can they stop already so people can join and celebrate the Marlins for once?
Absolutely not. Heat in 3.
I would be fine with that. The
Really?
Heat can, they can stop winning whenever they want.
There you go. Charlotte wants to be a Marlins fan, is what I'm getting out of
Oh
that.
no, don't do that.
Oh,
it's
Join the club.
such a good idea to fire Missoula today.
He should step down.
Aren't the Celtics wasn't Bill Russell player coach? Like, just go ahead, put Blake Griffin in the role. He gets more respect from the refs anyway.
Brad Stevens. It would be a heroic thing to come down from the front office and one shot at it. This guy doesn't know what he's doing anyway.
It's a no-lose situation if you're Brad Stevens. Like,
Even if you lose, you tried.
he can only get them out of this hole. He can't make it worse. It's already as bad as it could be.
am
you know?
I reading Brad Stevens wrong? Because he seems like someone that's more than happy with no one talking about him or looking at him. You know what I mean? Like coming down and having your coach get fired or quit to take over. Like respectfully, that's a Pat Riley.
He's
move.
got that look, and it's so prominent that I've crossed paths with him twice yesterday, and I kind of wanted to lean in and hey, and talk to him about something, but he gave across that I don't want to talk to anybody. Feels so much.
How many times you cross paths with him?
Twice. So you want to hit it again? No. Okay.
It's look at me, Riley, too, though, is what you're saying, though, Billy. You're right, because Riley did do that.
He would love that.
That's how Wade won his first championship. Him and Stan are still not good. I don't know what the hell happened there, but it was something.
I wouldn't be shocked if Pat Riley stepped down to coach the Celtics against the Heat in this series just for and gigs.
Did you see Shaq with the heartwarming moment there with Zoe, and then he's sitting next to Pat Riley, and he and Pat Riley did not have a good falling out. I guess falling out is never good, but they had a falling out, and it was ugly. But to see those two together while the Heat are winning, it's just so heartwarming.
A good falling out. Yeah, it's hard to do that.
It's hard. Sorry, screwed up.
The podcast is better than that he is doing.
I hope so,
The
geez.
podcast that he is here, I saw it being promoted on the scroll last night, saying that it is here today or tomorrow because it's already 30 for 30 time. It's already history time. The big three is now, as LeBron's got the Last Dance people chasing him around for a different documentary now than they were headed toward. And Izzy is remembering the prime of LeBron's years, where all of the stuff started that made LeBron James over the last 15 years be a historic figure. You're doing a podcast that's covering this as if it's history.
Yeah, it's called 4 Years of Heat. It's with iHeartRadio and the NBA, and it basically takes you back through those 4 years. And it's first of all, it's kind of crazy for me because I thought about when I was asked to do it, I was like, yeah, you know what, that sounds like fun. But then I get in the idea of wait a second, podcasting. First of all, everybody has one. So what's going to make a podcast hit? And then I have to think about people listening to my voice for extended periods of time. And it's just, that doesn't really feel good to me. But I think what I did with this one is just make sure that we get a lot of extended conversations with other people. Shane Battier, Ray Allen, Udonis Haslem.
Chris Cody.
Tim Reynolds.
Chris Cody?
Dan
Nah, he
Le
didn't ask.
Batard. No, I didn't. I got Dan, though.
You were
It was a big get.
22 during the Big Three era.
It's been 10 years
My
since
prime.
the Ray Allen shot, Chris. 10 years.
What about me?
Wait, can we do
No,
it? Can we
really?
Can you interview Chris we're doing the podcast right now so we can hear what Chris would say big picture about the Big Three?
awesome things.
Yeah, Chris, how would you paint the picture of the Miami sports scene before LeBron got here, right around 2010? What did that look like?
Poop.
Good answer.
You know what? Let's switch that out. If I could just take that answer, put it in for Dan's,
It was
gonna
very
make
good,
for a
yes.
better podcast.
After
Poop.
flowers.
The form, though, of sculpting something,
Yeah.
because you're trying to make something that has a 30 for 30s echoing, right?
Sure.
Like I don't, you're not doing this for ESPN.
No, it's they allowed me to do it as a freelance person, and so it is one of those feelings like being in it the entire time from 11 or 10 to 14. You just feel like some of this stuff is common knowledge, right? Some of the stuff that you just remember, but going back and revisiting it, you're just like, wow, if I'm taking people through these 4 years, there are people, in their mid-20s who maybe kind of remember what happened, but not with all the details. And so, I also think that it's a lot more helpful to, I didn't get Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James for this podcast, although we have archival sound for them, but getting the conversations from a Mario Chalmers, from a Udonis, from even like on the Spurs perspective, a Matt Bonner or a Boris Diaw, like they give you a little bit more of that real feeling. Like Matt Bonner still has Seven Nation Army echoing through his head, and every time he hears it, just thinks of the Miami Heat, and it puts him first in a sad place and then in a happy place.
Jeff Pearlman, the great author, interviews hundreds of people and for his books, and it's primarily reported. And the best stories always come from the fringes, not from the main characters, the people, the 10th guy on the roster that can tell you the real story. But I wanted to ask all of you, because tell people where it is that they can find this again, Izzy, because you're telling the story of a history that is hugely interesting in this market, because Pat Riley and LeBron broke apart too. And what Pat Riley is doing with this team is, approaching 80, Izzy. Approaching 80. You know the history of this market. You say, Chris Cody, this was poop before LeBron got here.
And then flowers after.
Sports in this town was poop before Pat Riley got here.
Yeah, and again, it's called 4 Years of Heat. You can get anywhere. You get podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And the thing about Pat, even the biggest test for this team. So we talk about this Heat team sticking with their guys, right? When everybody else said, as Chris would say, they're poop. They stuck with them, and now they're making a finals run. But I think the most critical moment for this team, for this franchise, was that 9-8 start with LeBron and Pat Riley having Eric Spoelstra's back there and saying to, the team or whomever, this is not going to change. I am not going to rescue you guys. This is your guy. And so to have that faith, even after he failed them that first year, and stick with it, I think that's sort of the tone you get from the Miami Heat franchise, just having faith. And now you look at him, and Eric Spoelstra wasn't the same coach then that he is now. Now he just happens to be the best in the league. He got there the same way Bam is developing into this player, and the same way Duncan and Gabe are developing into these players. And so that moment right there where Eric Spoelstra knew, hey, with LeBron James even nudging the president of basketball operations, they've got my back, and so I feel ridiculously supported.
So are we married to this title, or?
That's a good question.
There was a lot of rejected titles, actually.
Ooh,
Big
give us
Three.
a
What were those?
It's a little
Yeah, what
wordy.
were those?
Wait,
Can we vote?
you guys think the name?
Should have
better.
been poop then flowers.
Poop then
That's a good
flowers.
one.
Yeah. We
It's an
couldn't use
amazing
South
name.
Beach because they don't play in South
Wait
Beach.
a
They
minute. You
rejected
guys are.
that.
What is the name of the podcast?
4 Years of Heat.
See, Dan.
It's a
Dan,
great name.
honest thoughts.
It's a good name, Izzy. I love it.
What were the rejected names?
I don't remember the exact rejected name. That's a fine, Stugotz. I would say anything with Big Three. There was a play on Big Three, but it didn't work because they didn't want to use Big Three.
4 years of Big Three.
Wow, that's catchy.
Okay, so
4 years of the three.
okay,
Something like
the
that.
podcast that we are promoting for
4 for
Izzy
3.
3 for
Gutierrez.
4.
There you go.
Put it
Not
on the
one.
poll. Juju at LeBatard Show is the name of the podcast we're promoting for Izzy.
Also, about 30 minutes ago, you said that if they win this year, it'd feel a lot better than then, and you're promoting now a
That is correct.
podcast about that, which is odd.
Promoting a podcast about very hard feelings and difficulty cheering for a team. Yes, let's bring back a lot of fear and sadness and
I
anxiety.
want to
in
get
everyone.
into this conversation again. Billy thinks he's right about how this is going to feel to Heat fans if
Billy
they
always
somehow
thinks he's right. He's a dick.
if they somehow beat the Denver Nuggets.
A
Wait a minute,
finals nobody wants.
Was that the voice in my own head that just said that, or did Billy say that out loud?
It did feel like it was my voice being spoken.
You don't care at me.
Well, Tony's not here, so.
I am so pissed off this weekend, by the way, about a basketball thing that happened that is not Heat or Celtics related or even NBA related. It finally was time for my New York Liberty to play on Friday night, WNBA opening night. And this was a Big Apple grid of death punishment that
Did you remember that it was? Because
I did, because people tweeted it at me the entire offseason. They're like, oh, the Liberty game's coming up. It's coming up soon.
Because you thought by
Liberty game.
postponing
They don't
it-
forget, Jess.
I know, but see, Jessica, you say they don't forget, but our group would have forgotten.
What was the
No,
penalty?
we forget. They don't forget.
Well, I pulled the Big Apple helmet, and I was trying to be cheeky, so I picked the Liberty, knowing they weren't going to play for like 6 more months. And then, lo and behold, like sometimes, like when things are happening far away in the future, you're like, oh, are we even going to be around by then? And then, like, inevitably, we are.
Barely.
But I'm like, like, there could be like Miami. We could be underwater.
So wait, that's
by
another one of your
WNBA
teams,
season.
the Liberty? Like, I have to put that on the list now?
Well, I have like 6 WNBA teams. We can get into that
There's only
later.
12 of them. It's half
Nothing
the
wrong
league.
with that. Nothing at
Thank
all
you.
wrong with that.
Atlanta Dream, by the way, one of the 6 because of Renee Montgomery.
course.
Big
So,
fan.
Renee.
Are you
Moco.
saying you select things that are way down the road and hope the city drowns? Like,
I don't hope for it. I just say like there's a likelihood that it could happen, and then I will never have to pay this grid of death punishment.
Dan, did you see the news? You get excited? New York's sinking.
Oh, I saw that
see
because
that.
of Billionaires Row. Apparently, the buildings are
The
too
buildings
heavy.
are too heavy.
It's sinking like a millimeter a year.
We are in no position to mock anyone
I know you
else
love a
City.
sinking
for
city, though.
sinking.
Dan, I wouldn't
love
visit
a
that place.
he does love a
sinking
Billy
sinking
Corbin's
city.
gonna
He
start a
does.
show called Because Manhattan now.
He absolutely, Billy, wants one to sink already.
No,
he does.
I do not. We've talked before. The Panthers arena that presently is vibrating has built into the construction plan that it will sink into the marsh.
Billy said that like Stugotz said Marty Schottenheimer died.
Dan, New York
He
is
was
sinking. I mean, but Dan actually has another sinking city now. This is a big day for him. As soon as I saw it, I thought about you, Dan.
You laugh. They're all sinking. And Jessica's sitting here saying, well, I understand that one day I'm going to look up from my apartment and cascading waves are going to inundate my life and my city. But I got away with that grid of death punishment that I never had to serve because there's a silver lining to all
I'm
of
just
this.
saying. So I picked the Liberty before all of the free agency like crazy off-season things
look at you.
happened, and then all of that happened. I was like, oh, that was the smartest thing I've ever done in my life because there is no way they lose their opening game now that they have Breanna Stewart and Jonquel Jones and Sabrina Ionescu. Like they're going to kill everyone this season. This is the super team era now of the WNBA. Now we're having arguments about like, are super teams good? Are super teams bad in the WNBA? It's very exciting. But then
Well, it's clearly bad. Because the first game and Brianna Stewart goes for 45 3/4, and they're too good.
No,
too good. Break 'em up.
They lose their first game, which is the game that I selected, and then she drops 45 in their second game, which is inconsequential to the grid of death. So I'm sitting here on Sunday just fuming that I picked the New York Liberty and they let me down.
You should do a
after
podcast
all
on
these
that
months.
big three.
Yeah, no, I got dibs on it. Okay, the 4
Call it
years of
2
the Liberty.
days of liberty, 4 years of liberty.
The podcast that
Damn it.
Izzy is selling you is how
I
many
so
parts?
okayed that name, too.
How many parts is the podcast?
It's an 8-part episode. The first episode dropping tomorrow. That's Tuesday the 23rd. And
Chris
it's one
Cody.
episode a week, except
Okay.
for 2 weeks where there's 2 episodes a week.
Chris Cody saying
Just
eight's too
kidding.
many. No, you weren't.
Well, how long are they? How long are
Just
they?
let's tighten it up a little. Just
What's a good length for a podcast, including ads for you?
Don't ask these people. They're going to say like 6 hours a day indefinitely till you die.
35 minutes, 45 minutes.
Okay, that's exactly where it is. It's about 35 minutes of
Nice.
content per episode, and then throw a couple of ads in there. And did I mention DJ Khaled?
That's your best selling point. It's not too long, people.
Not
It's-
too
it's-
long.
That's a great sell.
I'm
That
just
is a
not
great-
It is a
I
great
I
seller.
love that.
Yeah, you
And
could.
you can listen to it any time of day. You don't have to stay up late to listen to it. It's a podcast. It's
And
on
if you
demand.
fall asleep, you already know how it ends, man. They win a couple of championships, they
Right.
lose a third one, and he leaves town.
That's how I felt
And you
watching
get your
it air.
download.
Exactly.
I mean, you're good. Right.
Stugotz, we are talking a lot of Heat Panthers playoffs, but it's not often that someone makes a return to basketball after spending the offseason in a Russian gulag of some sort. Like, it's not a small story. She's going to keep
I'm not certain it's ever happened before, Dan.
No, it was really weird.
That's correct. It's a story that can't quite get enough coverage
We're gonna
in
check
sport.
in
It
on
was really weird reading like all the WNBA preseason like things that are like Elena Deladon is back after like back injuries, and Brittney Griner's back from prison. She hasn't played a game in 574 days or something like that.
Yeah, no, it felt a little unfair discussing her situation in the same situation as, hey, can Courtney Vandersloot help the Liberty as much? So
it was bizarre, yeah.
It was strange, but it's obviously like the most heartwarming thing. And then her second game being the first one home, and she was, she lost it a little bit, was emotional, and I mean, I can't imagine anybody experiencing that and just getting right back into your profession. And she's sitting there in front of everybody and like getting all the adoration and still performing. It's
Dude,
crazy.
I lost it. They did like this big pregame thing for the Mercury and announced all the players. And then right before she came out, they played "I'm Coming Home," and I was like,
man.
oh. And Lee was like, "Oh, is this game live?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's starting right now." I was like trying to pretend I wasn't crying.
I mean, it's not the most common story. Like the NFL sits here and tries to wrap itself in all sorts of patriotism. A returning star to a sport that was a war hostage? Like, I mean, that's the story.
she had 4 blocks and a double-double, I think.
And, is a pioneer in luring us to caring about that sport and not getting paid enough while playing it here that she has to play overseas where a vape gets her traded for a merchant of death.
I also thought it was interesting when someone asked her about standing for Jamel Hill asked her about standing for the national anthem, which she hadn't done in a while, and she was like, "Well, it was I felt differently this time after being not in the United States in such a terrible situation." And I don't know, I thought it's sort of interesting to hear like how something so monumental that happens to you can, I don't want to say shift your perspective, but all of a sudden it felt like a very visceral experience for her. She was just like, I think I need to stand, and it wasn't political in that same.
Oh, but it can't help but be political, right? Because this is legitimately a trade for a war criminal. And, of course, it's political. And people who are shouting, liberals who are shouting, it's a victory for America, while conservatives are yelling, terrible trade, what are you doing? It's a merchant of death for a woman who represents what she does, right? Black woman.
But it's not even...
Not just black woman, but a gay woman.
Mm-hmm.
Sports star in an ascending sport. And we've made it very hard for her, a huge political symbol, to say, not going to kneel like Kaepernick did, because my country came through for me. At the end, my government came through for me. Maybe not America. Maybe not the American people were fighting with guns about stuff, but my country came through for me here. Like, obviously, in a way that can't be disputed.
Well, it's the perfect example to me why you don't really separate sports from politics, because sports to me is community. Sports to me is, you are rallying with people that you don't even know to support a group of people that are representing your area, right? And so for Brittney, she was a local sports star. She was a Phoenix Mercury star. But then when she got detained and it became an American story, she was an American star. She became, embraced by all of us and showed that support. So to her, it felt like she was in an arena where obviously one side is the enemy and then the other side is her support, is helping her out. And she comes out the other side and says, well, I can't disrespect that. That's my people. Those are my community. And so when we do this in sports, whether it be something as large as, celebrating the return of Brittney Griner, or something as, simple as wearing a patch on your jersey to represent, a group in your community that needs the support, that all is just what sport is to me. Because it's not the Jerry Seinfeld we're talking about laundry here. It is the good feelings that bring people together, and all of that has to do with those around you and that community around you. And so when she feels that support, she suddenly says, man, it's not just Phoenix, it's not just Arizona, it's not just, Baylor, it's the entire country that's supporting me now, so I can't sort of disrespect that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not even like a disrespect thing, because that is the way that like it's turned against people who are trying to make a stand, for lack of a better term, to bring awareness to an issue. Like her kneeling during the protests in 2020 and to bring light to Breonna Taylor is her caring about the country and wanting it to be better. And I think like we can get really in the weeds on like, standing for the anthem or not or anything like that. But I think like what we saw this weekend was a tremendous show of support in both games, the game in LA and the game in Phoenix, from the women's basketball community, which is the community that led the forefront for her to come home. That was remembering her every single day. That was, tweeting about her every single day, wearing her initials every day, had the initials on the court last season. And like, they were the ones that didn't let her forget didn't let her be forgotten and made sure that she knew she wasn't there on her own. And so I think that it was really emotional because I think the women's basketball community knows how loud their voices are when they are all standing together and doing something. And a lot of times it gets drowned out because, like everyone, likes to talk about, they only get 5% of the coverage, right? Like, we sit here and talk about all these, like, anthem things get, top headline, and we don't actually talk about the games. And that's why I wanted to talk about the fact that the Liberty absolutely screwed me on Friday night. Because now I have to dress like Katie frickin' Ledecky and sit in this freezing cold studio.
If you honor it, Billy, as you know, has a very loose grip on the proceedings around
Not
here.
True. I've been all over this, Dan, and this season is going to be totally different.
No, you're not running this again.
Dan,
Absolutely
there's a
not.
big move.
No.
I don't know if you know this. We switched studios. There was a big move. There's lots of things going on last season that we had to come on, and we had to be professionals. Lots of moving parts behind the scenes. But not this year, my friend.
Couldn't be any less intimidating.
We're moved in. What?
Okay, you're fired. You are not doing this year.
Just from that responsibility.
Not from all
you
of
mean.
Meadowlark.
Right,
As we all know, I don't fire anybody.
I've never heard someone put their foot down and be less scared about it.
Oh, no, I'm fired from a job I don't want to have. Oh.
I know. This is where you
Which
win.
one?
No, congratulations on winning. You won from every angle. You didn't have to do any.
That's what I was going
Yes,
for.
that's what's happened here. Congratulations.
But don't worry, Taylor said he would pay off all of the shipping containers, grid of death punishments because of the Knicks.
Have fun wearing a swim cap, buddy.
I almost hit him with my car today. Guy's a menace on one of those bird scooters out there. Doesn't pay attention to any stoplights, street signs. The guy just throws himself across 5 lanes if he wants to. Doesn't pay attention to any traffic laws. Same thing with people on bikes, but that's a story for another day. But I was driving like, Jesus, thank God there was a red light or I would have killed Taylor, a coworker of mine.
Dangerous.
Because he
The most
just
dangerous
zoomed
game.
around the corner on his little scooter and goes over 2 lanes and then runs another red light, headed into it's like he doesn't know that cars are killing machines.
He must have that Meadowlark life insurance policy. Attaboy Taylor.
Izzy, I'd like to get you started on scooters. Go.
I mean, you don't even. I nearly died on one of those things. They only go 15 miles per hour, but damn it if they're not dangerous. My beautiful face was wrecked for about a month.
Whenever
or
he
several
was
months.
injured from the scooter, I seen Izzy and I was like, brother, it's not that bad at all. It looks amazing.
Jacked up.
Now that it's done, boy, you look terrible. That thing was hideous. I love you though.
But Cody, I didn't cancel the boat day. My face was covered in scars,
You look
and
terrible.
I was not supposed to be in the sun. But damn it, I went out on the boat with you guys.
Salt water is great for healing anything.
Thanks, Dad.